This is Mahalo Wealthy, and I have lent my Kangen Water machine. I have a loaner unit. It's an SD501 to a hemp grower out here in Southern Oregon for the last 3 months, and it's industrial hemp. They have about 5 acres worth of hemp, and we're about to go see what type of results he got using the Kangen water. So let's go. How did you end up using the water? Did you use it to water with and as a pest management, or one or the other?
Both. It's wreaked havoc on cannabis and hemp growers.
Right.
We also have aphids here, and obviously the two-spotted spider mite. Those are probably our 3 biggest pests. So I intentionally infested my plants with two-spotted spider mites, intentionally infested my plants with broad mites, and intentionally infested my plants with aphids, so that I could select those plants most resistant. Now, one thing I noticed in watering with, doing soil drench with Kangen water, is plants became inherently, plants otherwise not so resistant to pests, built an immunity to pests somehow.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
They slowly became more immune as they got more and more of the water. But then I started to say, okay, well, you were like, do the acidic water and then the basic water back and forth, alternate between the two, and I did that. And I've been using, we are an organic certified farm, and we're trying to get our biodynamic certification. So we have to be very careful about what we spray on our plants.
Mm-hmm.
We can't use the more common chemicals out there, and I don't think people should be using those chemicals on
Absolutely
medicine.
not. Yep.
So we look, some things that we can use though, like impede is a really common omri listed. It's a soap, and it's relatively harmless. It washes off in a few days. So that is not very helpful when it comes to broad mites. It's so against spider mites and relatively useless against aphids, to be honest. I mean, it just doesn't do much.
Yeah.
The only other things that I've found effective are Grandivo, Venerate from Marone Biosciences. Those work really well, but they're expensive, especially if you're spraying every week as part of an IPM. And so with the Kangen water, I found it worked as well or better than Venerate and Grandivo, and much cheaper.
Right.
I mean, you're
By far.
5 pounds of Grandivos, $150, we'll say. 2.5 gallons of Venerates, $250.
How fast do you go through something like that?
On a farm this scale, we go through 2.5 gallons every month.
Wow.
So you're looking at $500 a month.
Right.
Versus
just owning a machine.
Versus owning the machine, and and it works. I mean, the spider mite's probably one of the most difficult pests to get rid of, because so are broad mites, but as a whole, spider mites are just a nuisance. And once you get them, they're very difficult. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, intentionally infesting my plants, other than for the good of the breeding program. But they're very difficult to get rid of, and when you're working with pesticides or biologicals, you have to fully cover the plant. Every crack, every crevice, even the top of the soil, sometimes the pots, and the room that it's in itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's much easier to get that coverage with a small amount of surfactant and the Kangen water than it is with a product like Grandivo, which can be kind of thick, pasty.
Okay.
So the spider mites can get away from some of the pesticides, and they can't get away from that water when you just drink, because you can just drench.
Yep.
Because you don't have to worry about water harming your plant.
Exactly.
That was one thing. I've burned plants with Grandivo. I've burned plants with Venerate. I've burned plants with Impede. I've burned plants with just about every pesticide I've ever used, even spraying at lighter concentrations than recommended. I've never burned a plant with the Kangen water.
Wow.
Matter of fact, I would have to say plants usually look happier and healthier after being sprayed, and and it's eliminating the pests.
Right. Right. Because
So-
you're sterilizing with the 2.5 strong acidic water. You're sterilizing the
Yeah.
plant,
Yeah.
and then they just love the 11.5 when you go and spray that on
Yeah.
them.
And so and then after treatment, one thing I would do is I would come back with So I make my own lactobacillus cultures, and I would clean my plant. Basically, I would spray um, the acidic and basic water, and then I would come back with the labs and do foliar, and man, the plants love it.
Oh
I
wow.
mean, they loved it. It becomes exponentially more difficult to rid yourself of that problem because the bugs have so many more places to hide within the flower of the plant. It's near impossible to get that pesticide to where it needs to be. Water being less viscous than most of the pesticides out there makes it easier to get to. And then not only that, but you don't have those pesticides dried up, the residuals inside your flower. You're using water.
Right.
So you fill up a 5-gallon bucket of Kangen water. You dip your plant in it. You set it back down. You know tomorrow that plant's going to be dry, it's going to be clean, and it's going to kill the bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you use, Nukem or green cleaner. You dip your plant in that and you set it back down. It's not, because it's a soapy substance, it's going to create surface tension and form a bubble, which is going to prevent it from getting into all the cracks and crevices.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also going to leave a residue on your plant that you either have to wash off or deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have that with the Kangen water.
That's amazing.
So I mean, hands down, Kangen water way over pesticides
Right.
any day.
It's a game changer.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Absolutely. Thank you. And I'll just add to that and say, for the pest management side of things, when you go into any of your grow shops and look for all your different options on pest management, doesn't matter what you have, none of them you can use to water the plants with to make the plants healthier. So
exactly
you're
right.
getting this 2-for-1 that you can't get anywhere else.
Yeah. What else? What else? You can not only water the plants, but you can also treat pests.
Right.
And not only are you being able to treat pests, but you treat pests effectively, and you guarantee that at the end of the year, when you harvest your product and it goes to testing, you're going to have one of the cleanest products out there.
Right. That's exactly right. Right.
So I mean, your test results are going to come back clean.
Yeah.
And that can mean the difference between a sell and not.
And potentially losing your crop if you come out,
Absolutely.
if you fail your tests.
Absolutely.
So and you drank the water too, didn't you? I mean, it's good for your health as well.
Oh yeah.
What did you notice anything?
Oh yeah, huge difference.
Awesome.
I had after a while, like for the first week or so, not noticed so much. Then after that, like almost like energy drink. Like it was crazy. It was
Right.
like yeah.
Yeah, and you're working hours out in the sun and the heat. And,
Yeah, we put in long hours. Yeah.
yeah. So that's great. Well, thank you. Thanks
Yeah.
for putting in
Thank
the
you.
work and giving all that
Absolutely.
data. Yeah, thanks.